Joining us now on Houston Sports Talk is Deepi Sidhu. She's a co-host on Texans Radio and a contributor to HoustonTexans.com. And pleasure to have you with us, Deepi. First of all, I think we were all stunned by the news Drew Doherty broke this week that J.J. Watt hadn't seen the Rocky movies. Have you recovered from that blow yet?
Well, actually, he said he'd finally started watching them, so he hasn't. He has started watching the Rocky movies. I don't know where exactly he finished. No, it doesn't surprise me. That is a little bit before his time. I mean, I hate to reveal how old I am, but I mean, JJ's a little bit younger than me, and I remember when those movies came out. But I think it's very fitting for him, of all people, to go back and watch those movies to motivate himself.
Yeah, I kind of think it's like the Wizard of Oz. That's one of those that just everybody has to see. What are the big differences, do you think, from what you've seen so far between Kubiak and OBrien's coaching staffs and how they kind of go about things? I know you're working off a pretty small sample size so far, but are you seeing some big differences between the two as you watch the OTAs or just being around them in the complex?
Oh, definitely. And I mean, we saw the changes as far back as the off season before anyone even took the field. The signs came down in the building. We saw a lot of team first things go up, and not that Gary Kubiak wasn't into team and team first, but it was just a different mentality, different mindset. I think that coaching staff brought what they brought. They were a little bit more laid back and not as vocal. This is, you got the East Coast in here, and that East Coast mentality, very loud and blunt. But the one thing I like about Bill O'Brien is that many people thought that he was going to come in and be like Bill Belichick. And while he has sort of kept a lot of information about injuries away from us during OTAs and these mini camps, we're used to Gary Kubiak coming out and saying, so and so's got a foot, he's got a knee, he's got a hip, and that may or may not be super helpful, but at least we sort of knew what was happening with a player. We're not going to be getting that sort of information from Bill O'Brien. And in that sense, he's like Bill Belichick. But I think as far as everything else, the rest is all who he is. And he brings a different type of energy, a different mentality. I can tell you that just from watching OTAs, it feels like the intensity that we should see during the regular season. I mean, there's a different level of urgency and intensity that him and his coaching staff bring to the table. Now, guys like Romeo Crennel, you don't see them out there yelling at players and getting all hot and bothered, but from what I hear from the players, he definitely likes things done the way he wants them done, and everybody wants to please this coaching staff, and we're definitely seeing that early on right now.
Well, I think the one thing that we can reveal about Bill O'Brien is what's on his iPod.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, do you have any favorites so far? What's the biggest surprise or two also from you?
I am surprised every single day. I mean, I think the first day when we heard Mo Money, More Problems, we were joking on the media that was there, the small gathering of media that was there during one of the mini camps. We said, it's probably Bill O'Brien's playlist. And lo and behold, it really was Bill O'Brien's playlist. But he goes, I want to say I haven't really heard anything before 1980, but we go through genres of music. We went through a grunge day where we heard some Nirvana and some Pearl Jam. Yesterday was a lot of hip hop and rap, some Rick Ross, Every Day I'm Hustling, and Kid Cudi, Day and Night. And then we always get sprinklings of like the Thursday night football theme or the Sunday night football theme. So he's very diverse in his musical taste. I'm not quite sure if I believe it's all his. It just seems quite unbelievable to me, just the range of music, from Jay-Z and Linkin Park to country, that's really all his music. But we're having a good time with it. And for people that can't come to practice, which is pretty much everybody right now, I do have a Spotify playlist, and it's under my name, Deep Slant, and you can go to that. And I've got the Bill O'Brien Jams public, so you can get an idea of what we're talking about here. It's a very versatile playlist. Yeah,
you just don't look at him and hear Bill O'Brien talk and think, oh, Notorious B.I.G. Yeah, that's there.
Of course, Kanye West, yeah.
Well, the $1 million question for the Texans this year, who's the starting quarterback? Not sure we've been able to take much away from watching these guys in shorts and without pads, but have you learned anything at all from Ryan Fitzpatrick or Tom Savage through the OTA so far?
No, it's really hard without pads to get a good feel of how these guys are doing. And all we know is Bill O'Brien says everyone's learning at the same rate. So we had this discussion on Texans radio yesterday, John Harris and I, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? And John Harris, who's our insider, he says we're going to start probably seeing more separation in training camp. That's when we're really going to see one guy sort of rise above the rest. But right now, it's just too early to tell. They're all at the same place when it comes to learning the playbook. Obviously, Tom Savage a little bit further behind than Ryan Fitzpatrick and TJ Yates and Case Keenum and everybody else. But at the end of the day, they're all still learning a brand new language. And, we expect Ryan Fitzpatrick to pick it up sooner because he's been in the system before. He's familiar with these plays. They probably called it something different in Buffalo and something different in Tennessee, but it should be a little bit easier for him to grasp. But he's also sort of learning the system. And I think if it were my guess, we'll probably see Ryan Fitzpatrick come out first because he is a veteran, unless Tom Savage does something completely unbelievable and wows everybody in training camp. It'll probably be the veteran starter, and then at some point maybe we'll see Savage as the season progresses. At what point in the season, it's really anybody's guess right now.
Of the rookies and the free agent signings, do we have a new ninja? Have you come across any real characters from these guys?
I really wanted Louis Nix to be the next ninja, and I can't give anybody that title because I did a show with Antonio Smith last fall, and I was, heartbroken when he left in free agency because we had so much fun with him, and he and I had made a deal that if he stayed, that it would be a long-standing show, and we'd tell Mark Vandermeer about it later. But we had so much fun with Antonio Smith, and Louis Nix really, he's the guy that had a show when he was at Notre Dame. I think it was called Chocolate Thunder or something like that. But he had a theme song, and it was, what you talking about, Nix. So you can YouTube it. It's really funny, but ever since the rookies have been here, they've just had so much thrown at them, and they've been inundated with all this new stuff. We haven't really seen their personalities come out. So when he was drafted, he tweeted, "It's chicken time," and I asked him about that. He said, "I tweeted it's chicken time because, I've been drafted, now it's time to eat." And he seemed like a guy that I would dub the next, blank. I don't really know what his title would be, but, right now it's probably too soon for the rookies. As far as the vets, I don't know. It's really hard. I don't know if we've got another superhero in the making. Maybe it's somebody that's there and he just hasn't come to surface yet.
Yeah, Mike Thomas was a character when he was talking yesterday. I noticed he has a little bit of a sense of humor and a different kind of air to him.
Yeah, definitely. He's got some confidence to him. He's been around and he's familiar with guys like Andre Johnson. So I think the longer you've been in the league, you're a little bit more comfortable coming into your skin. I gotta say though, Ben Jones. I interviewed Ben Jones yesterday, and people underestimate how funny he is. He's from Georgia. He's got this country twang, and he does crazy stuff. Like, he's really into dares. There's not really a dare that he won't take. And I asked him yesterday what's the grossest thing he ever did, and he said he drank his brother's snot, and just for a couple of bucks, which I just really, I know I've totally grossed everybody out, and it's probably the last time you're ever going to have me on a podcast. But he did that. He also drank a little bit of the water out of the hot tub that everybody soaks in. And then he named all the bugs and stuff, but those two things really grossed me out. I felt like I should lecture him on, getting sick and what are you putting in your body? But he's like, well, as long as it doesn't kill me, I'll do it. So he's an interesting guy to watch as well.
Yeah, he was the double dog dare guy on the Little League team that everybody must have gone after.
He'll eat anything. But, Andre Johnson said he's the funniest guy in the locker room. So there's something to be said for that. That's, there's always, everybody likes the guy that brings a little bit of lightheartedness to the group.
Well, I'm going to give you another impossible. We went with the quarterbacks. Here's another impossible question. You got at right tackle Derek Newton, Quisenberry's, I know, in the mix, Brennan Williams, if he gets healthy. How do you think it shakes out at right tackle? And maybe is it possible the guy isn't even on the roster yet?
I don't know about that. We do have several guys that are on the roster at tackle, and some of them undrafted rookies. But I definitely think that they like what they see in Quisenberry. He's got the size. He's you see him sort of all over the place in practice. So they're definitely moving him around, and the coaching staff last year liked him a lot as well. If he hadn't gotten hurt during I believe he got hurt in training camp or in preseason. It was in that August timeframe before the San Diego opener. We might have seen him take some snaps over Derek Newton. Who knows? And Derek Newton, whether this coaching staff likes what they see from him or not, we don't know. We're definitely seeing him in training camp, and they like what he's done so far. So don't write Derek Newton off just yet, but just know that if David Quessenberry comes back healthy, that's a really good option, because now he's coming into his second year in the league. Even though he didn't play last year, they really liked the talent they saw when he came out of college and arrived in Houston.
Well, I know you wrote a story on Max Bullough, the free agent linebacker from Michigan State, and with Brooks Reed trying to make the transition and a lot of question marks beyond hopefully a healthy Cushing, give me your thoughts on Bullough and his competition inside.
Yeah, that's an interesting group. I talked to Romeo Cornell about the inside linebackers. I mean, this is great for him because the versatility that he gets with his play calling, having a guy like Brooks Reed who can play inside or outside, it really gives him a lot of flexibility. I do think that Brian Cushing is going to come back. He's going to be healthy. The two injuries he's had have been unrelated. They're freak injuries. And if he can stay healthy, we might see Brooks Reed on the other side of him. Max Bullough, I think what they like about him is that he's really good against the run. Now, is he fast? That might be another question. That was kind of one of the knocks against him at Michigan State, if he can drop back. But, maybe they just put him in on third down situations. Maybe they just put him in situationally, and then they have Brooks Reed playing on the other side. Brooks Reed is also very good against the run. But Brooks Reed, every year they talk about moving Brooks Reed inside, and every year it doesn't quite happen. Is this the year that he does it? Who knows? But he might do really well inside, and that's a position that he says he's really comfortable playing in, and we saw him in OTAs play inside last year when there were injuries again. Cushing was out. I believe Tim Dobbins, Sharpton, all those guys were injured, and we saw Brooks Reed basically just lending a warm body on the inside. So that's a place where he's pretty comfortable, and don't be surprised to see him there. Max Bullough is definitely another guy. Jeff Tarpinian did a lot of good things at the end of last year, and he came from the Patriots organization, so maybe that's somewhere where he fits in as well. Who knows? I mean, they've got a little bit more depth and a little bit of maneuverability, and now adding Bullough to the lineup.
Well, did you happen to catch Andre Johnson's tweet? I guess he was doing a little bit of begging to get his guy.
Oh, Arian Foster?
Arian Foster's tweet on Andre. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was at the gym at 5:30 in the morning, and somebody at the gym showed me that. So that was one of the first things I saw, and I'm not on Instagram, but I did see it, and it's all over the news now. The funny thing with Arian Foster is, I remember last year somebody had asked him about Andre Johnson. Andre Johnson was breaking all records left, right, and center despite the season the Texans were having. And a lot of the players get asked about Andre Johnson and what sort of leader he is in the locker room. And Arian Foster said something that just made me laugh. He said, yeah, Andre Johnson and I are best friends. He just doesn't like to admit it to people. So I think there's a little bit of a little love fest there between Arian and Andre. And I know they're close. They work out in the off season together. They run on the track together, Arian, his brother, and Andre Johnson. And I'm sure he'd love to see Andre Johnson back, as would the rest of Houston. So hopefully that gets resolved this off season.
Yeah, it sort of sounds like an unrequited love from what I'm hearing.
That's one. Well, Andre also doesn't, he doesn't just wear his heart on his sleeve. Maybe it's requited, but he just doesn't show it. We don't know. But we definitely know where Arian stands on Andre Johnson.
Well, that was Deepi Sidhu, co-host of Texans Radio and contributor to HoustonTexans.com. Great to have you with us, Deepi. They can catch you as well at Deep Slant on Twitter. So
that's right. I'm on Deep Slant. You can follow Bill O'Brien's Spotify. I'm on Spotify at Deep Slant as well.
Great to have you with us, and you can check out all of our interviews at HoustonSportsTalk.net.